Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Denny Bedard. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on News Talk, KGVO. As always, thank you for joining us on Missoula Real Estate Today. A happy 4th of July weekend, one and all, from News Talk, KGVO. 3 guests in the studio on Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Loren Mostad. Loren is a realtor with Windermere, also sales and marketing director with Mostad Construction. You get to go first. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Denny. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, sir. We always do get acquainted, warm-up things. How long have you been in the construction business? And besides your family ties, what appealed to you about it?
So, Mostad has been in the business for over 40 years now. I've been with Mostad for just under 5. I came out of teaching to come work with my family. The things that really brought me to building those, as a former teacher, I look at the process as an educational opportunity. So I get to teach people about how to build a house and what goes into it. And that's really fun for me to see their dreams come true.
What was your teaching background, grade-wise and school-wise and everything?
So I taught for a couple years on the Crow Reservation, just south of Billings.
Interesting.
In Pryor, Montana. And I was a first and second grade teacher. I actually have my master's in curriculum and instruction. So did all of that and then did a hard left and came to real estate and building.
I was going to say, that's a pretty big transition, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Hey, besides Loren Mostad with Mostad Construction and Windermere, we have Gene Mostad. Gene is the president of Mostad Construction, along with Jared Kuehn. Jared is a lending officer here in Missoula with First Security Bank, and we'll be talking to those fellows here shortly. We're going to stay with Loren for a few minutes. How have you been able to continue to conduct business efficiently during these last 4 months, Loren?
Yeah, they've been interesting.
Yeah.
They've really changed the way we interact with people. We've gotten a lot better at doing video conference calls and just conference calls in general and talking to people over the phone. But really, we as real estate agents or realtors in Missoula and builders, we were deemed essential by the state. So we've tried to conduct business as close to normal as possible. I mean, obviously, I travel with disinfectant and hand sanitizer and masks in my truck all the time for our clients. But other than that, it's do our best to keep our trades safe and the people that we're working with safe, but continue to build and keep people working.
Big challenge to conceptualize and visualize, isn't it? You're trying to get somebody interested in a home that you're either building or you've already built, and virtual tours and 360 and everything is wonderful. Technology getting better, faster and faster. There's still that, no, I got to get in there and breathe the place, right?
Yeah, there's still a lot of I want to touch and feel.
Of course.
And you got to understand it because that's a big investment. Homes aren't cheap, right? So it's an opportunity. I mean, so we had to do our best to give them an opportunity to be in the home as much as possible.
And you do custom homes, commercial buildings as well. About where are you on the percentile breakout of each of those two, more commercial or more homes than commercial? But about where's it at with Mostad Construction?
Mostad's about 95% residential construction, about 5% commercial. We really pick and choose which commercial projects will fit our business model. Again, we don't want to cost a client more than it should if we're the builder. So we pick and choose and make sure they're ones that we can really make sure we're maximizing their vision for their project.
And how would you say customer expectations have changed over the years? Particularly, we talked a little bit about virtual tours, but particularly with having a custom home built and also changes in expectations for commercial needs. Obviously, 5% not as significant a part of your business, but how have all those expectations changed over the years?
I think that, Mostad's always had a really discerning clientele, which has been nice for us because people know what they want when they come in. But I think on a general overall market approach, people are getting more knowledgeable. They understand the process better. Shows or channels like HGTV have shown off what we do. And so people feel like they come in with more knowledge. And then that little computer we carry in our pocket every day called cell phone gives you everything you need to touch your fingers. So it really has made our clients much more knowledgeable, which has been a lot of fun. But really, it's all about budget. It always has been. That's the biggest change now is those that because they know more, they want to maximize their budget better. That's something that my father has done for a long time with Mostad Construction. We hope to continue to do as we move forward.
Sure. Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guests, Loren Mostad and Gene Mostad with Mostad Construction. In between there, we'll get into the bank and biz. First Security Bank officer Jared Kuehn with us as well. And Loren, as a companion to that last question, what are some of the trends you're seeing in in wants and needs of those looking into a custom home?
I think that really what we've seen, the big changes recently, is there's a lot more homes being built on crawl spaces versus basements. There's been a lean towards efficiency in the home. So we haven't seen the desire for unneeded space. And then we've also seen, especially recently in the past 4 or 5 years, is the desire for what we call a barrier-free or step-free entry home. Yeah. Those are homes that, I can live in as a mid-30s person. My dad can live in as a little bit older than me, and my grandmother can live in as a little older than him as well, and still feel comfortable and have the home work for them. And that's really been the trend lately, is that the home is just better functioning.
Where have you really seen growth and demand in Missoula increase over the last few years? I don't mean just necessarily locations or areas, but you kind of touched on styles of houses. But where are you seeing the growth and the action and the curb appeal?
Yeah. So, as a director of the board with the Missoula Organization of Realtors here in town, there's always the demand for affordable housing. And that's something that we always have to have part of the conversation. As a builder and a realtor, the curb appeal stuff, we've seen a big gain in the townhome market recently. We've got a couple developments that fall into that kind of category where it's maintenance free. People are looking to be able to live in their home but not have to mow the yard or shovel the snow or wash the windows. Those are things that are appealing to a lot of people now. And again, if we're going to a smaller, more efficient home, a community of townhomes or condos or even just something designed that way works really well for them.
Talk about your design teams, Loren, and concepts. Where do some of Mostad Construction's best ideas come from? Where do they surface?
So first and foremost, our clients are the ones that drive the design. So a lot of that stuff comes from things they've seen because they're more knowledgeable, right?
Yeah.
Mostad's also part of the Missoula Building Industry Association that Jared, who you talk to later, is the president of here in town. And with that, we're part of the National Association of Home Builders. And both of those organizations, through the trade partners and through market data, give us a really good broad scope of what's trending nationally and then a little bit locally. So if we take that idea and say, okay, how do we make that fit the Missoula market? That's where our clients come in. And so we feel that every client has a vision, and we've got to figure out what that means to them. Mm-hmm. And then we take their ideas and learn from them. If we get a bunch of clients that want crawl spaces versus basements, we see that trend, and maybe we'll design more floor plans that will trend that way to give them an opportunity to. So we're a little bit ahead of the game.
Yeah. You have an excellent checklist for what to look for in a builder. Can you share some of the most important components of that for us?
Yeah, I think there's a couple that are really important. The first one is always, does the builder have a referral list that they can give you to talk to past clients and even present clients? I think that's really important. Do they use a signed contract, and can they provide you with a sample of it prior to signature? Not all builders do, and a signed contract is a way to keep everything above board. Same thing in real estate, obviously. I think that, does the builder have a detailed specification sheet? That means all the things that go into your house, all the nuts and bolts to the plumbing fixtures and the lighting. Is it all drawn out and easy to see, right? Can they provide that to you? And one of the really big ones that I think is important is, can the builder talk about their own strengths? If they're just a builder and they say, yeah, I build houses. Well, if you talk to my dad, he has a list of things that he thinks he's good at or that he specializes in. And over the years, yeah. Well, I mean, everything's perception, right? But the last big one, the overall big one is, does the builder have insurance?
Okay.
Do they collect lien waivers? So that's so you get a free and clear home once you move in. And the last one is, do they utilize signed change orders? So the change order is something that happens during construction. If you change your mind, a signed change order makes sure that everyone's in agreement as to what it is and how much it costs.
What are some of the pros and cons to having your home built for you?
I think that I've got a couple of pros that it came up real quick, and it was something that I think is really important, is when you're building a home, you're getting what you want. Mm-hmm. There's far less compromises in building a home than buying an existing home, just because you get to design the home. The pro that really kind of stands out everybody is, everybody has a different lifestyle, and when you're building, your home can fit that lifestyle. The cons right now, the big one is time. I mean, building a house takes time. You can't move in 30 days once all the inspections and stuff have been done. It takes 6 months or more to build a house. And then the last one is, there's always some financing differences between buying existing and building, and whether it's a construction loan or how your builder carries financing. All of those things are big things that you just have to be aware of them. I wouldn't exactly call them a con, but they're just something that if you're not aware of, they can cause stress because everyone that builds has to deal with it. So if you find a good builder that has good partners, it becomes much easier.
And, we hear a lot of news stories, inquiries for people moving into Montana or wanting to because perception is it's healthier than a lot of parts of the country right now. Do you see that? Are you getting more out of state customer inquiries than usual?
Yeah, I think just recently in the building market, we're starting to see, at least for us at Mostad, it's something that I like to think that we're healthier up here, but I don't know if there's any data to prove it, right? But in the building market, yeah, we're starting to see the new clientele coming from out of state or looking for that Montana lifestyle, right?
Right.
In the real estate market overall, I think that, yeah, there's definitely been a trend of out-of-state buyers looking to move to Montana to gain what we see as normal, but they see as social distancing. But yeah, I think it's a trend that's going to continue as we see the crazy that's happened with the COVID-19 affect the nation.
I always like to ask my guests about success stories. Any projects you recently worked on with Mostad Construction or you're working on that you're finding particularly rewarding?
Oh, besides the 3D mask that we printed for the sheriff's department to help them recently, that was kind of fun. We did about 80 masks there. The big one when it comes to building is we've got a development out by the Peak Fitness Center off of Blue Mountain Road called Mountain Meadows, and it's a piece of land that my grandfather bought well before I was born. And my father spent a lot of time getting it to the point where it is now to be a really good-looking neighborhood, and we're starting to build homes in there. So to be part of something that my family's been involved in for longer than I've been alive has been a really cool opportunity for me.
We did a looky-loo drive one evening up there just to have a look, see what was going on. Very impressive. Well done.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk to you.
Loren Mostad with Mostad Construction here on Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate as we swing the microphone on over to Jared Kuehn in commercial lending with First Security Bank. Welcome back to the show. First off, Jared.
Appreciate it. Glad to be back.
And you are also the current president of the Missoula Building Industry Association, as Loren pointed out. What do you like about working with the MBIA?
I think the most impressive thing about the Missoula Building Industry Association is just the dedication of the members. We're a small group, but the people that are involved and engaged are heavily involved and heavily engaged and donate a lot of free hours. Loren's been on the Parade of Homes committee for the last several years, and he can attest to the number of hours that you put into that. And we've got folks that are, down at City Hall and sitting in on meetings and, keeping a tab on what's going on with local politics and all that kind of stuff. And so it's the folks that donate their time to the industry and to the association.
On the banking side of things, how have the current, let's start with interest rates. How's that affected your workload and the number of loan applicants? What's the perception there? Is it a buying frenzy before they go up, or are people just kind of assuming they're going to be that way for a while, or what's going on in the
kind of what's happened is with all the COVID stuff, rates have been impacted and they've come down in the last 6 months, and that has it's done two things. For home buyers, it's just that much more appealing to buy a home now than it was, when rates were a little bit higher.
Right.
And then the other side of that is the refinance market, where you've got people refinancing out of higher interest rate loans, or, possibly we're seeing a lot of people actually look at shortening their loan term. So maybe going from a 30-year to a 20 or a 15-year term, just because all of a sudden they can afford to do that and put themselves in a better situation. So it's been busy, especially in the real estate market, and that's heavily driven by the interest rates.
And a few minutes ago, Loren brought up the difference between the buying an existing home versus buying a custom built home in terms of working with you. How are they different? How are they the same?
As far as financing, building a home, if you're going to finance it as an individual, it's a more hands-on process than than buying a home is. And I think what a lot of times what people don't realize is traditionally financing the construction of a new home is actually kind of a two-part process, where you've got a separate construction loan that's typically like a 12-month construction loan to get the house built, and then when it's complete, you're refinancing that loan into a 30-year type of mortgage, and that's just the way that the industry is structured typically. First Security Bank, and I know other lenders around town do have sort of an all-in-one product that allows you to, have that construction period, and then that loan rolls into a 30-year type of mortgage. But I think a lot of people don't realize that, and then on top of that, it's every month there's going to be a draw request, and so the builders are going to submit their invoice and say, well, this is what work has been done, and typically as the bank, we're going back to the customer and saying, do you agree to this? Has this all been done? The bank's going out and doing inspections to make sure that the work that's been invoiced is actually there on the property. So it's definitely, it's a more involved process. And I think some people like that and like to be involved in that. And I think for others, it's maybe a little bit of an education to kind of get them up to speed on what's going to be expected of them.
How about that process for the buyers? Are most, I should say, applicants pretty well prepared?
I would say so, and I think kind of going back to what Loren commented about as far as education. I mean, I think people come to us more educated, and I think there's more information out there online. Homeward is a local organization that offers home buyers classes, and I think that they're busy. I mean, those classes are always booked out several months in advance, and people that go through that class come to us really well prepared. I think most people are fairly well prepared when they come to us. If you don't know where to start, call your bank, call your lender, and that's what we're here for, is to direct you.
Okay, then this is a good question for you. What are some of the more common mistakes you might see applicants make that could potentially slow down the lending process?
I think the biggest mistake that people make is not getting their lender involved early. A lot of times people will just decide that they want to buy a house or make an offer on a house, and they're coming to us, looking for a pre-approval, and they want to make this offer on a house this weekend or whatever it is. That doesn't give the lender much time to, if there's anything that needs to be addressed, or if there's any questions, or if there's any moving pieces, that doesn't give the lender much time to make adjustments. There's small things sometimes that can be sort of fixed or adjust that can be a hindrance to the process. And it might be like a little mistake on a credit report, or it might be, if someone is new on a job, maybe there's a waiting period, and it helps to know if something like that is coming down the road for a lender to kind of be able to direct you and guide you. So get your lender involved early and often.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guests, Jared Kuehn with First Security Bank on right now. Gene Mostad from Mostad Construction joining us in a couple minutes here. Jared, where do you feel in that process? Great advice there, by the way, but where in that process do you feel your experience and expertise are really at their most valuable?
Well, every transaction is different. Even though the process is the same, all the elements that come together on a mortgage loan, for example, are different. And so, the experience is having seen those situations at least once or maybe multiple times, where I would say, someone who hasn't been in that world or is kind of just getting started, they haven't seen the sort of the oddball or the unusual situations. Someone that's got 10 or 15 or 20 years, in the business or has a good, foundation for some education from their employer, they're kind of better prepared to handle those or know how to navigate those waters when those things come up. So I would say that's where the experience comes in.
Let's get back to your role with the Missoula Building Industry Association. You're the current president. An annual event a lot of people look forward to is the MBIA Parade of Homes. Can you give us any update on the status of that? Where do your plans stand right now? What are some backup plans? We're talking about the third week of September.
September 18th through the 20th. Parade of Homes, like all of the events that we're seeing right now, it's been a challenge, and we're kind of trying to figure out the best way to proceed with that. As of right now, we are expecting to go forward with a Parade of Homes, again, September 18th through the 20th. Though we are kind of in conversations with our builders and kind of trying to forecast the future and see how the public's going to respond to that. There's a concern about having builders there at their houses, and I don't think people realize, but over the course of the weekend, they'll have 1,000 folks through their house. And so now you have a builder that's face-to-face with 1,000 people from the community. Is that best for the current situation with coronavirus? And so we're kind of having those conversations right now. There may be some changes, and we may be looking at possibly a virtual tour, or we may do a virtual tour in conjunction with a traditional tour, where people that are uncomfortable going out still have the ability to see a house virtually. So unfortunately, it's a little bit up in the air right now, but we will be having some version of a parade of homes one way or the other. Right. So I wish I could give you more information. But
no, quite all right. Hopefully we can get you and a member of the Missoula Building Industry Association back on the show sometime, a couple weeks prior to that event.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. That is Jared Kuehn with First Security Bank. While we swing the microphone over there to Gene, I want to thank some of Diane Beck's marketing partners that helped bring you Missoula Real Estate Today on News Talk KGVO. Rob Fleming with Man Mortgage, Miles Link of Opportunity Bank of Montana, and Carol Blodgett from MakeItMissoula.com. Earlier in the show, we were joined by Loren Mostad, who is a realtor with Windermere and sales and marketing director with Mostad Construction. And now we got the president of Mostad Construction, Gene Mostad. How are you, Gene?
I'm doing great.
I guess I don't think I've seen you since I completely butchered the MBIA banquet, right? Is that?
Yeah, you did an excellent job.
How did I get roped into that one?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. We roped you.
Yeah. It was fun. I was honored to be invited. As president of Mostad Construction, you've overseen a lot of projects over the years. And what are some of the things that have really amazed you about the growth of the Missoula area? Are there homes in areas you just never thought you would see?
Yeah, the infill part of what's
Right.
going on in Missoula is quite interesting. There's some guys doing that and actually doing a pretty good job. As long as you got the time to get it through the city and stuff. We have a process downtown that's quite cumbersome right now. And we're trying to get that figured out so we can make things a little easier, which it impacts pricing and everything else. But and then obviously with the cycle of life in the baby boomers and everything, like Loren had mentioned, we're seeing a lot more in the retirement type of homes and stuff for people that want to have to take care of stuff and want to be able to leave in the winter and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But at the same time, the younger people are, they're wanting new housing too. And I think one of the bigger changes is we're not seeing the big houses, the 7,000-8,000 square foot houses and stuff. People are definitely wanting to design smaller spaces but have nicer spaces, and then outdoor spaces are becoming a lot bigger deal too.
What are some of the biggest challenges you're facing right now to try to stay on schedule as a commercial home builder? I assume it includes things like the availability of products, capable workforce, and things like that. What are some of the obstacles you've had to overcome?
Well, yeah, some of the stuff is obviously since the recession, we had a lot of people leave, and not all of them came back. So we're still trying to fill some of those voids. One of our biggest challenges is always framers around Missoula. Where we seem to be able to fill the other voids fairly good, but framing is a big one. And then with the COVID stuff, product stuff, we've had some hiccups on that, and then having to slow down our schedules so we can have maybe one crew in a house at a time once we get into the interior, just to make the environment safer and stuff, and then getting people to wear masks when we want to. And the guys have been real respectful with that. So everyone wants to work, but everyone needs to be cautious at the same time.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guest this time around is Gene Mostad, president of Mostad Construction. I guess I'll follow that question up, Gene, with asking you what the current building climate is like, and in what other ways has COVID-19 affected, trends, patterns, and other supply and demand issues you might be seeing.
Well, the building industry right now is doing very well. We had some slowdown when the COVID stuff first started. People were just trying to adjust to see, what was going to happen. But they're starting to come out now, and they're excited. We have, we're wearing masks with our clients in our conference room and stuff if everyone feels that that's the need. And then just sanitizing our houses, our show houses, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, attention to those kinds of details. I asked Loren this question. I'll ask you the question, too, about what projects Mostad Construction's working on right now that you are really excited about.
Well, yeah, Loren brought up our piece of property out in Blue Mountain that my dad bought back in the early 70s. And we used to hay that ground when we were kids and stuff. So this is our last piece of property that was in the family since 1970. So
wow,
that's been fun to have that come to fruition, because it has been kind of painful getting it ready over the years and stuff, because it has its own sewer and water systems, and those aren't easy things to do anymore. I've always been excited about our townhomes. We have always seemed to have a townhome project going somewhere in Missoula over the last 30 years, ever since I got involved with Brookside and did that. Because there's always been a demand for it. It just seems to be more of a demand now because of the life cycle of, the baby boomers.
Yeah.
But a lot of the design stuff that we're doing, even with the younger people, or like Loren mentioned, are kind of the same. People want open spaces, but they just want higher finishes, and they want them to communicate very well with the outside.
If somebody is interested in a custom home, they contact Mostad Construction. Take us through the process a little bit in terms of, meeting plans. What's your vision? What's your, the whole conceptualization about that? It's got to be kind of an interesting and probably a fun challenge to get things started, but you've got to get kind of acquainted with what that customer has in mind, right?
Yeah, and that is exciting, having people come in and they have their dreams and stuff. And it's always helpful, when they've had the time to look online and bring us pictures or bring their thoughts. And they don't necessarily need to have it in detail. They just need to give us the big picture. And then it's always nice to have an organized process that you can communicate with them up front, so they feel that you have things under control and that you're going to use their time wisely. So we have a 6-step process that goes from our very initial meeting, and then goes through the selections and bidding and signing contracts, and then actually building the house, and then what we do after the house. And people really like having things organized like that. And we've backed that up now lately, with all the technology stuff. We do everything online now, so we're able to put all the information online so they can look at it at home, and we can talk back and forth, so they just feel a lot more informed, and then it's easier for them to keep up on all the decisions they're making because we put it all online, so they end up being more comfortable.
As president of this company, as we get close to wrapping it up here, what are some of the things of which you are most proud that you've been doing this for a long time? You don't have to say the young man, off to your right there, but you can't say it's one of the big obstacles either.
Right?
You got to stay neutral there. But
it depends on the day, Danny.
What are some of the other things you're very proud of?
It is nice to have a company that your sons feel proud to come and work in, but being able to have a brand that's well recognized and respected, that we're going to take care of people. You don't really think about that when you first get going, but as time goes on, once you build your brand and stuff and people recognize it, it's fun to be able to work with that. And, I started out building custom homes, and we've been doing that for a long time. So we feel that we have a very good process for that. And through technology and learning over the years to refine that and make it easier and easier as time goes on has just been wonderful. And the online stuff has really helped with that and putting people at ease that, we do have things under control. So, and to be able to build a company that people want to work in, and you want to work with them, and you have good values and stuff. It's all stuff that when you're younger you don't really think about, but at this stage it's even more important because people are looking for those values and stuff.
Excellent. Gene Mostad, the president of Mostad Construction. I'll send it back to Loren here real quick. Just if people want to know more about Mostad Construction or working with you, Loren, contact information.
Yeah, so if you reach out to Mostad Construction, you can do it through our website at mostadconstruction.com. Okay. You can email me at Loren, Loren, at mostadconstruction.com. Or you can always reach us at the office at 542-0200.
Excellent. And how about First Security Bank and Jared Kuehn?
Yep. So people looking for financing, they can reach us. Kind of same thing. FSBMSLA.com.
Great job. Thanks for coming in. Thank you for listening to Missoula Real Estate Today. Contact Diane Beck with Windermere Real Estate. Email dianebeck@realtor.com or visit her website, homesinmissoula.com. We'll see you next time on Missoula Real Estate Today.